Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 1st, and I have some unfortunate news to share with everybody. Obviously, you can see Tom's not here today. It's my brother, Ryan. Say hi.
What's up, everyone?
I'm not going to comment on this too much, but apparently Tom was picked up by the cops over the weekend for soliciting a prostitute. So I don't know what's happening there, but hopefully he'll be back soon. But who knows? So we're just going to run a show today without him. No, I'm just kidding. Tom's taking Italian midterm, and he could be with us today. I think he'll probably do a podcast later this week with him and maybe one of his friends or something, just to kind of get stuff out there because it's a busy week for us, and we just want to get two podcasts out whenever we can. So, like I said, it's Tuesday, June 1st. It's officially the start of Cavaliers Appreciation Month. And what's up, Ryan?
What's up, Justin? How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Before we get into things, I do want to say this. I know the end of the Islanders game last night was awesome. I can't, and it's I'm sure you've heard this, and I just want to tell everyone it's okay to like NHL hockey and the playoff hockey and the NBA playoffs. Like they're both exciting, so you don't need to scream at each other on Twitter all the time about which one's better.
If Cleveland had a hockey team, I would definitely watch it more than I watch NBA basketball.
I would if Cleveland had an NHL team, I would go to probably half the home games.
Yeah, so it's exhilarating to watch on TV.
Yeah. And the hardest part about hockey was me watching it was picking up where, like, once you know a little bit about it, like just a little bit, like where the puck is supposed to be and how the offense kind of run. It's once you learn that stuff, it's so much easier to pick up. And it reminds me a lot of playoff baseball because, I mean, literally at any point the game could just change on a dime. So, so it's guys, I just want to let you know it's okay to like both of them. And then like I said, it is Cavaliers Appreciation Month. So I have a video to share with everyone. Hopefully I got to pull this up. This is when I believe 2015 or 16 when he murdered the Bulls.
15, I think. 1 point. Oh, you had it.
James for the win. It's gone. LeBron James at the buzzer.
Yep.
Stuns the Chicago Bulls, and the series is tied at 2 games apiece.
That was awesome. Do you remember the other one? I'll probably do that next time. The runner he hit off the backboard, he banked in versus the Raptors, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I will give LeBron James this credit. I mean, he's obviously probably going to go down as the best athlete to ever come out of Cleveland, maybe the best athlete ever. But I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know what I was going to say. So
some clutch shots for the Cavs over the years, that's for sure.
He did, and that's where I was going. I mean, I'm sure you listened to part of my take, but I mean, it's crazy how many times the Cavs went into the playoffs once LeBron came back, and they didn't have home court advantage at all, or because they just didn't care about the regular season. And the Raptors and the Bulls in both those series, like, it was almost they would play them every year basically in the playoffs, and the Raptors and the Bulls would always go up 2-0, and we as Cavs fans would just sit there and be like, I'm not worried.
No,
I'm not worried. The only other time I've ever been worried in a playoff series was I thought they were to lose to the Warriors. But like I said, there'll be a lot of content on the Cavs because it is Cavs Appreciation Month. And we are going to talk about the Cavs today, but it's not going to be a pleasant talk probably. So let's get into it. Today in sports history, in 1899, English cricket icon W.G. Grace starts 22nd and final test against Australia at Nottingham. Test debut of Wilfred Rhodes and Victor Trumper. Like I said, don't know what any of that means, but they always have cool names. And every time I see something cricket, it just, I assume it took 7 days to finish the game. So, like I said, one of the best pranks ever got pulled on me and Tom was on April Fool's Day when he sent me a link to a tweet that said, fantasy cricket. You could play fantasy cricket. and it didn't have fantasy cricket. It was an April Fool's joke. So we were screwed. I looked at it for about 30 minutes trying to figure it out, and there was no cricket. It wasn't possible. And then in 1917, Boston Braves first baseman Hank Gowdy is the first active MLB player to enlist in the service for World War I. He's also became the only player to ever fight in both World War I and World War II. So it's good for him. And obviously after Memorial Day, it's big ups. So so we're going to start also a new segment today. Kind of like if you've seen Around the Horn or anything like that, kind of like that. Basically, we're just going to go over some headlines, and I'm going to ask Ryan, is it a story or is it not a story? Very simple, and we'll kind of briefly go over it. So yesterday, Joel Embiid left the game in the Sixers lost to the Wizards with a knee injury. He collided with someone near the basket. He's to have an MRI shortly, I believe today probably. And is this a story, or is it kind of just like the Sixers are still up 3-1? They're still going to win?
I think it's definitely a story for a couple of reasons. One, I don't follow NBA too closely, but just kind of loosely following that game. It's crazy how much different of a team the Sixers became once he was gone. All of a sudden, you had Rui Hachimura going off with him off the court. So that's a story in and of itself, whether or not he'll be able to get healthy. But the other story kind of is the fact that it takes say they win the next game, they win 4-1. That should just be okay. You slipped up one game, easy win in the series, but now you kind of have this cloud hanging over your head as you go into the next round. So not the ideal situation for them, but also you could always, have the scenario where the MRI comes back, he's healthy, and then nothing really comes of it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the injury happened. It didn't look too serious. And like, even from the tone of the article that I read about the MRI, it seems like he's probably going to be okay. Like, it wasn't one of the like ACLs gone in football or something like that. So, but yeah, I mean, the Joel Embiid, to me, there's really only two really good centers in the league, and it's Jokic and Embiid. And Embiid is a lot for that team offensively, because you look at that the Sixers offensively. Ben Simmons, who we talked about, just is whatever. Tobias Harris is a good offensive player, but they got to get points from somewhere else. So if Embiid can't continue or is out of the playoff, the Sixers have no chance. And I don't know what seed they are, but they'll have to probably play the Nets at some point, and we'll get into that. But without Joel Embiid, they're definitely not beating the Nets. So
no, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So over the weekend, Chelsea won the Champions League. I don't know if you saw it. Pulisic got in there in the second half, and he kind of fluffed his lines. He basically was open, and he kind of just whizzed it past the goal, but. So Chelsea won, which I guess I'll ask you first. Is this a story?
Chelsea winning or the Pulisic part?
The Chelsea winning, yeah.
It's more of a Manchester City story, if you ask me. Chelsea obviously is a little bit surprising given how, they played throughout the season. But, Manchester City is kind of reminding me of PSG at this point. They're owned by like some of the richest people in the world. They built this team. So they won the Premier League. They've won it a few times. They won it this year. But it just seems like this final step of being the kings of Europe is just unattainable to them. You'd think that this is the ideal draw for them. You get a team that you've played, I think, 3 or 4 other times between the league and League Cups, and you can't close it out, and also you can't even get a goal on the scoreboard. So Chelsea winning is a story for people in that part of London, obviously, and whatnot, but Manchester City, it's just another year gone by where they have to wait a whole other year to see if they can finally pull off the big one.
Yeah, when I look at Manchester City's squad, even the substitutes are like really well known like guys. So yeah, you're completely right. Like I said, Pulisic, it would have been insane if Pulisic would have scored in the Champions League final. They actually they were showing a live stream, not a live stream, but there was a live watch party at somewhere in Hershey, Pennsylvania, where he's from, and they showed their reaction to like what happened. And it sucks, but good for him. He got into. Is he I don't know, but is he the first American to ever be in a Champions League final?
I don't know if he's the first one to ever be in it. He's for sure the first one to win a Champions League.
Yeah.
So, honestly, the list is very short in terms of anyone who's even been at that caliber to even be in that contention, to be honest. But there are a few players around the world right now who, are repping America on high level European teams.
Yes, yes, and we will. That transitions very well to my next topic about this is a story. I think we're going to both be on the same page with this. The UN's men's national team played a friendly versus in Switzerland, I believe, over the weekend. They took a one hour early lead. I believe. I can't think of his name. The kid who plays for Juventus.
Dest.
I believe he scored, but I'm not sure on that. So they gave up. They scored early. We're up 1-0, and they gave up 2 to Switzerland. And so is this a story?
Just real quick, it's Weston McKennie. That's who you're thinking of. Sergio.
Yeah. Okay.
Dest is the one who plays for Barcelona.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's no. I would say for the most part, no. But there is I think American sports fans have this issue where they look at other countries like Switzerland and they think how we're losing to them. I mean, Switzerland's not bad. That's not a team that losing 2-1 to is absolutely awful. They are also a team that has a major tournament coming up that they're preparing for, whereas the United States men's national team is playing friendlies without their best player who is actively playing in the Champions League final.
Yeah, I kind of disagree on this one. I mean, I will say it was their first loss in 18 months, but then again, we're playing CONCACAF guys mostly. But I mean, first of all, the broadcast, the regular guy did it, and then obviously Taylor Twellman was in it. We need to get Taylor Twellman out of the booth. Like, we need to get him out of the booth. Like, I like him. I liked his rants on the U.S. soccer. I completely agree with him. But every time he's in the booth, it's just negative. And obviously they lost, and he was in the booth, and he was like, I mean, he basically said, and I kind of agree with him, actually, even though I don't want to hear it when I'm just trying to watch a game. He was like, I think Berhalter, the coach, he was like, I think he got the only thing that came out of this game is more question marks. Obviously, Pulisic wasn't there. I would say he's the key cog in that midfield and going forward. I don't did Destin McKinney play?
Well, I didn't watch this. You said that you thought that McKennie might have been that first goal.
Yeah, I know McKinney played that, and then I know Timothy Weah got in, and Claudio Reyna Jr. got in. So I assume they all played. And yes, you're right. It's Switzerland, and they are preparing for the Euros, which is a huge competition. But it's just I got to say, I'm just sick of losing. Like it gets old. And obviously the U.S. fans don't understand it because, I mean, yeah, Switzerland's not bad, but with how great the Americans have done in other leagues this year, like, I finally think they're headed in the right direction, maybe, and then they show up like this. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I also don't think, and it's very weird, but I almost think they should stop taking MLS players because, like, I understand in the MLS, like, that's where you want to go. But even if you know nothing about soccer, if you watch a Barclays Premier League game and then watch a MLS game, it is such a difference in talent, speed. It's incredible. And I think when they get you have guys like Weston McKennie, Sergio Dest, even Sargent plays in Germany, and obviously Pulisic. But then you match them up with guys from the MLS, I don't know, like Jordan Morris a couple of years ago, and they're just not like. It's almost trying to create I don't know how to explain it, but they're trying to mesh the two types of where they comes together in the same league, and it's just different because the pace and the game overall is just way different in the big leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it's been a few years since he retired officially, but kind of, the whole in regard to the level of play in the MLS, I remember watching Thierry Henry play for the New York Red Bulls a couple of years ago when he came back over to end his career. I mean, he's at the end of his career, well past his prime, and basically just kind of playing to grow the game in America and make some money. The dude looked bored.
I mean, I don't know if he still plays for them. Zlatan was. I mean, he's almost 38. And Zlatan will go down as probably one of the top 50 soccer players ever because he really was. He's insane. But still, I mean, I saw he was doing an interview with Jimmy Fallon, and he scored his, I think, 500th career goal in an MLS game. And it was this crazy thing where someone chipped a ball over him and he like spun it in the air and did like a 360, which like really, I mean, he probably just like, I assumed it was kind of just anybody make contact. And then he was talking Fallon about it and he was like, oh yeah, I did that on purpose. It was 500th goal. I wanted to be special. Like he could just do that versus MLS guys. So like there have been years where I thought the U.S. could compete. Like I think right now, the U.S. is farther away from reaching like a semifinal or a quarterfinal in the World Cup than they were in 2010 or 2014. Like, they can't. And I know it's basically impossible right now to form a 22-man squad without MLS players. Mm-hmm. But I really think that's what they need to do, and I really think the young guys need to like. It's almost to the point where like I'll talk about Collin Sexton in a little bit, but the MLS experiment just hasn't worked. Like it's gained popularity in America, and that's awesome. And Austin has a team now. I saw a video of Matthew McConaughey, like they were going over pregame chants and stuff for the Austin team, and that's awesome. Like it's great, but it's just not the same. And if you ever want the U.S. to be a full-on force in U.S. soccer, then these young guys need to be plucked on at an early age and taken to these academies, because it's way different, and it sucks because I mean, so that's my rant about U.S. soccer. I was going to say something about Chelsea, but I forgot. Never mind.
Real quick, I just looked it up. Switzerland is ranked 13th in the FIFA World Soccer rankings right now. United States is 20. And kind of to your point, so my point was kind of that Switzerland, you know, you hear that country's name and you think of it in terms of American sports and you think, wow, we should be better than them at everything, right? And obviously they're ranked 7 spots ahead of us. But if you kind of look in this area, like Denmark is 10, Switzerland is 13, Croatia 14, you got Sweden 18, Wales 17. Like that group of teams are going to be teams that the United States needs to be able to start beating regularly. Yes, I think we've gotten way too used to admittedly making the kind of excuse that I just made, saying, well, Switzerland is still a pretty good soccer country. And don't get me wrong, like you play against Belgium, I'm not going to bet on us. We play against France, I'm not going to bet on us. We're not there yet. But this whole like 10 through 20 group of teams, we really want to make that next step. Like it can't be seen as teams that we should be losing to. You're going to start having to have that mindset of we need to be beating Denmark. We need to be beating Switzerland. We need to be beating Croatia.
Yeah. And I got to say, I know they're planning to expand the World Cup in the coming years. Like,
yeah,
I think that's a bad thing for the U.S. I mean, granted, they'll make it every year, but it means so much less. I mean, obviously, if you win it, it's obviously still incredible, and the winner will be incredible. But I mean, the U.S. just has it does that. It has no business with the rest of the world in soccer, and it sucks. It really does, because I really like soccer. Like it sucks right now because I love waking up on Sunday mornings and Saturday mornings. If I get up early, just turning on soccer. So. But yeah, I think they have to find some point, almost like a middle point where they, like, you could take some MLS players or whatever. Like I watched a little bit of the end of the Switzerland friendly, and I mean they brought on Timothy Weah. Timothy Weah is a guy who should be. He plays for Lille. He just won the French league, I think, or maybe one of the cups. But
Lille won it.
Yeah, so I mean, like those are the guys that need to be playing, and like I just, and like I said, I feel bad because the MLS is like the NBA for soccer players here in America. But if the USA ever wants to compete at World Cup level, I think it's going to take 10, 15 years to get there, and it sucks. But we'll move on to the next one. The last one is this story. I don't know how to say her first name, but Osaka, the tennis player from Japan, I believe, she withdrew from the French Open because of her mental health. So this is an interesting. This is just an interesting story because I don't. Did you hear anything about it or no?
Yeah, no, I actually know more about it than you would probably expect, given my interest in women's tennis. Also, her first name's just Naomi.
I thought so. I honestly, I just couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
So, I'll explain it. I'll explain it first. Basically, she has a lot of mental issues with like talent. I don't really know what it's all about. Maybe you do. But it also comes from the fact that she's really the star of Japan, and things like that. But She made a note on like social media before the French Open. She's like, I'm not going to participate in media because it does nothing to help my mental health. Mm-hmm. And I agreed with her. I've long said that you shouldn't be forced to talk to the media. If you want to talk to the media, go ahead and talk to the media, but whatever. And then so she didn't. She skipped. She won her first match, and then she skipped. She did an encore interview, but then afterwards she didn't go to the podium or anything. Yep. And the French Open or US or whatever, the USTA or whoever it was, fined her $15,000. Like, yeah, that's pocket change for her. I understand that, but it's the bigger story here. Is like clearly the girl like she has some mental issues, and there's nothing funny about that at all. Like we both know that for complete. Yeah. I mean, we've been through it. So it wasn't just the French Open. After she posted all this stuff on social media, not all the stuff, the one message on social media, all the 4 major tennis tournaments like banded together and each wrote her a letter. And then basically like they all said to the public, oh, we're very concerned for her mental health, blah, 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 blah. But then they still fine her for not for not talking to the media. And I don't know if this will go to court or anything, but like, in my opinion, it's just not right. Like she's very young, and like she shouldn't be forced to talk to the media. What do you got on it?
So I'll be honest. First, like the first thought I had is I'll be honest. Like, was I gonna watch the French Open prior to this? Probably not. But that being said, me, an avid sports fan, but by no means a fan of tennis, men or women, is just not something I watch. I probably could have, if you just like prior to any of this happened, if you had said name all the tennis players you know, I would have had Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, Williams, and her, Naomi Osaka, right? That's a name I know. And because of the way the media has treated her, that is now a name that will not be participating in one of their biggest tournaments of the year. So any chance that I had of watching it just got halved, because at least on the women's side, because I now know one player instead of 2. Like you can't be treating the face of your brand, especially the face of your brand who's 23 years old, and it's going to be the face of your brand for years to come like this. And the other thing was all-time irony. So like you said, she did her interview in private, but didn't want to do it in public. She tried to, set it up in advance to make sure they were aware of it. They fined her, and she was facing disqualification from the tournament before she just decided to withdraw anyway. And then the best part about it all was that the commissioner, or whatever you want to call him, of the French Open made a statement about it and refused to take questions from the media.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. But the money wise there, I mean, you're completely right as well. Like, why would you take basically? Let's be honest. If Naomi Osaka is playing well and playing through the tournament, you basically have probably half of the country of Japan watching. Yep. And to get her out because she won't talk to the media because she doesn't feel comfortable doing it, I mean, that's an abomination. Like, and it happened with Marshawn Lynch, and Marshawn Lynch made a joke out of it, which is great. I like that. That's funny. Osaka clearly has some issues that she's dealing with. Like, let her be. Like, get over it, U.S. Tennis Association. Like, your biggest – I mean, the Williams sisters are basically their careers are basically winding down. Yep. I know, like, Venus is pretty much done, and Serena, I'm sure she could probably still win a couple of majors because she's incredible. But yeah, so, I mean, you need to usher in a new star. And, I mean, this just reminds me of something that the MLB would do. Yeah. Like, just having no, like, self-awareness of what's going on in the outside world and just thinking that it's all about tennis, so it's all about baseball. So, if I was Osaka, I'd be like, hey, I'm not going to talk to the media. If that means I can't play, I can't play. You just lost the whole country of Japan watching. Yeah. So, and not to mention, when Serena retires in 3-4 years, you're going to be begging me to come back. So
exactly,
it's incredibly stupid, and it's incredibly sensitive subject. And it doesn't need to happen.
I agree. And the last thing I'll say is that one of the things that drives me insane, I probably get way more mad about it than I should, but I saw some sports media outlet tweeted out the statement she made about it. And you look at the replies and you see all these people who have never even sniffed a competitive level of professional sports saying, well, it's part of the job, this and that. It's like, okay, maybe that's true. And maybe there's better ways to go about it. I don't know the exact details, but like, anxiety and depression doesn't just go away because you're supremely athletic.
I'm sure, like, we both been through some pretty like bad things. Like it didn't matter. I mean, I gained weight and you're still ripped, but like whatever. But like she probably can't take a lot of the different medications. Because it'll affect like her mood and her like in a good way. But you can't play you can't play in like a sport like that, basically. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of the side effects to a lot of those pills, they're bad, and athletes can't use them. And this is exactly what the NFL has done. And once again, I think they were in the right. I mean, with head injuries and everything, I mean, the NFL knows their guys smoke weed. They know it. Yeah. Like it's fine. And honestly, that's 100% better than getting addicted to painkillers.
Yep.
So it's just crazy and whatever. But unless you got anything else, we're gonna move on to some news in the weekend. We'll start with the MLB. I quickly want to touch on this. We don't have to say much. Braves left fielder Marcell Ozuna was arrested over the weekend for domestic violence. We'll see where it goes. But I read the kind of like the police report. It doesn't look good. When the cop showed up, he had his hands around her neck up against a wall. So, but apparently this isn't the first time this has happened. So obviously, like, screw Marcell Ozuna and like anyone out there. If you're in an abusive relationship, you get help. You need to get help. Like, no one should have to put up with this, male or female. So,
correct.
We'll just touch on that. And also, this is another. Obviously, it's a very serious subject, but it's another irony that I'm sure baseball. I mean, they've already said they're going to do their own and personal investigation, but whatever they come up with is just going to be either not right or just super weird. So whatever. Yeah. But I mean, definitely like speak out for yourself and stuff, because like that shouldn't be happening in society. Jacob deGrom for the Mets. He might be the best pitcher to ever play the game. He has an ERA of 0.71, under 1 now this season through the month of May, which is the lowest since 1964. I don't watch much Jacob deGrom, but if I'm flipping through the channels, he's probably, well, I would say Scherzer back in the day I would stay and watch, but like not anymore. But I mean, like if he's pitching, I'll at least tune in for that half inning, because like what he does is incredible. And it also just shows you what it means to be a big market team. I mean, obviously right now Shane Bieber's kind of doing what deGrom is doing, and that's great. But we all realize as the baseball team fans that he's going to be gone. Like he's going to be gone. And I remember I tried to talk to Zach Mize. Awesome dude. I love Zach. And last year we talked about the Indians before the season. And this year we've been trying to get together. We just haven't really been able to schedule something. Hopefully we'll get something scheduled soon. But like I was asking him last year around this time, because this was almost the time that his report came out where the Dolan was just basically like enjoy him while he's here because we're not paying him. Yeah. And I kind of tried to talk to him and ask him, and obviously he's a beat writer, so we can't say anything like really bad. But the things I got for it's incredible the way baseball is, and it just small market teams at some point small market teams are going to become obsolete. They are. I mean, what the A's are doing right now, that's incredible. But that's Billy Beane thing. Like it's crazy and it works for the A's, but it honestly, it sucked for so long. And this is kind of just, I'm ranting about being an Indians fan. It sucked for so long to be at pitchers like CC Sabathia, Cliff Lee, I mean, Corey Kluber when he was in his prime, now Shane Bieber. And when we got Frankie Lindor and when he made his debut and he was awesome, and like but in the back of our heads as baseball team fans, like we know they're gonna leave.
It's been going on for as long as I can remember. I remember when we were younger. I don't think he actually ended up ever being very good once he left Cleveland. But Grady Sizemore was like the face of Cleveland baseball for the longest time. And then as the contract winded down, it wasn't like, do we have a chance of re-signing him? It's like, no, you have a set number of days left with this guy. Like there's no question that we're not going to re-sign him. It's just not going to happen. I will say there's almost a part of me, because every single year it feels like last year you had the Rays make the World Series, and I would think their payroll was like a tenth of whoever they're playing against, right? Was that the Dodgers? Yeah, Dodgers. There's a part of me that almost wishes we have 5 straight years where just the Dodgers, Angels, Yankees, and Mets win it every single year so that we can stop having owners of other teams try to justify their spending habits. Because you have the Dolans who are like, well, look at the Rays. Well, you're not the Rays. You're not doing this. You're just shipping away your talent every single year. And yeah, we're pretty good right now. I think we're second place behind the White Sox, who are very good. But it's like, I almost want the teams that make it work with low budgets to stop succeeding so that we can stop having this widespread mindset that everyone can do it. I mean, I don't know baseball finances, I won't pretend to, but from my outside perspective, it seems to be the closest to European soccer that we have in America.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say, and I'm sure we got that part of my take too. I mean, it is. It's the only 2 sports with no salary cap. I know FIFA has tried to instill like some money, which is good because they need to do that, or else. Play. Yeah. But yeah, baseball with no salary cap, like basically your only hope if you're like a small market team who has an owner that's like stiff with his money. I mean, it's just weird. I lost my track of thought, but yeah.
I guess my point would be is that like, so say like the Rays last year, you have even in the Indians, like say that they go to let's just pretend they go to the World Series this year. So they win the World Series, right? They're going to be touting themselves as how smart they are because of how they were able to win with such a low budget. But every single player who stood out on that low budget team will be gone within 3 years.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no long-term stability with the small ball money spending because you're always just going to be building new talent, which great. That's awesome. The fact that we constantly have one of the best starting pitching units in the MLB is really cool, despite the fact that players keep leaving. But I don't know. I mean, do I have billions of dollars to spend on Frankie Lindor? No, I don't. So maybe it's not my place to be telling the Dolans what to do, but sell the team.
I agree.
I'm sure there's someone who will pay billions to have a team in Cleveland.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting at before I lost my train of thought. Like your best hope if you're a fan of a small market team is that it happened for the Mets. You just get a guy and it's hopefully going to happen for the the Washington football team. With Bezos wants to come in or something. Like your only hope is you get an owner to finally come around and be like, I'm willing to spend the money.
Yeah.
Until that happens, it's just, I mean, you don't really have anything. But like I said, I haven't watched much baseball team this year. I just like I care, but I don't until the playoffs. Honestly, since we're on the Indians, the fact that Jose Ramirez has stayed with the Indians has been incredible. I feel bad for him a little bit because he kind of got screwed because he signed a bad deal earlier in his career. That's kind of kept him here long enough. But I also don't think – I mean, Jose Ramirez, it seems like the type of guy to me that could literally just go like even Pittsburgh, obviously be great and just have fun. Yeah.
I told you the other day, I've watched more college softball this year than I have Major League Baseball.
You won't catch me watching softball, but I'll watch college baseball. I'll watch college baseball over MLB too. It's just, and it's not even that. It's the MLB. The rules, the new rules that they instilled to make the game faster and better, have literally backfired. It's their PR department needs I mean, you talk about teams rebuilding. Their PR department needs to rebuild.
Yeah. Thursday noon, ESPN. Check it out.
Yeah. Ryan's alma mater, James Madison, is in the College World Series. Yeah, so they lost. They lost so they've been to like the regional finals before, but they've made it this far.
Yeah, they've made it to super regionals, I think, multiple times, but this is the first Women's College World Series appearance in program history, and they are the only mid-major team in the College World Series because it's a very SEC dominant sport.
I
mean, Big 12 and Pac-12 have like their representation. I've kind of tuned into softball media a little bit more just by following the team, and I guess people were basically like, I remember they showed because the top, I think, 12 seeds host the original regionals before the super regionals. I want to say it was like 8 SEC teams.
Yeah, I believe they had the college baseball selection show yesterday. I didn't look at it yet, but I mean, I think the last time I did a college baseball article for the top 5 teams in the country were SEC teams, and the other one was Texas. And the only reason Texas was in the top 5 is because they won like 20 straight at that point.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but yeah, the College World Series, I would like to visit it one day. Our father has gone there, and when Kent State went there,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard actually that like last year without having the College World Series, like obviously it affected everyone financially, but it really hurt Omaha or wherever they play at. So because basically these next 2 weeks in Omaha are like this is where they get 90% of their like earnings over the year. So but definitely if you like baseball and you're kind of getting sick of the MLB a little bit and just don't want to watch it, definitely if you're I mean Ryan did. I had no idea Ryan would watch softball, but he does. So if
it's fun.
I didn't put this in there, but I'll transition to this real quick. I mean, another sport that I has a great Memorial Day weekend, and I watched a ton of it, like lacrosse. I mean, I don't know how lacrosse has not become more popular, and it is more popular, and I guess there are problems like founding a league. I know they have a couple, like 1 or 2 leagues, and it's an expensive sport. But I mean, like every Memorial Day since like the last 10 years, I always watch the semifinals and the final at M&T Bank in Baltimore. I would love to go like to the weekend for the college lacrosse. It's exciting. It's awesome. And the best thing about lacrosse and women's lacrosse too, even though I don't really understand the rules of women's lacrosse, it's very different. But basically every year it's like, this is the only sport where it is, but like every year, like there's the number 1 recruit in the country and he's the best one ever. Like he's going to be better than the guy who was the number 1 prospect last year, who was the best one ever too. But I actually did see one of the women's side. I can't remember whichever one. She was a freshman that played on the team and was incredible. She like shattered the NCAA record as a freshman for goals scored with like over 100. So,
that's another good James Madison program. Just plug that again.
Hey, whatever. I mean, I mean Virginia. That makes sense.
Yeah, though they won the national championship in I think 2017.
The women's or the men?
Women's. No, the men's don't even have a varsity team.
Yeah. I mean, I got you, but it honestly was so long without sports and fans and things like it. It's just awesome to see it again, and I can't wait until the fall to maybe go to a Browns game. So sticking to baseball, getting back to baseball, really. Team USA will be looking to qualify for the Olympics this week. They won their first game. I looked at the roster. I don't know a single player at all.
I looked up the roster just after you sent me the outline. Todd Frazier is the only name I knew.
Yes. Okay. I didn't see him, but I know Todd Frazier.
Yeah. And I really just that's about all I know about him is that I know his name.
Baseball is a sport. I mean, I just don't really understand why it's in the Summer Olympics. It's like, it's so different from the rest of the sports and it's weird and you're not getting pros and it's just weird.
Well, I think moving forward, you're going to experience some issues with you choose host countries. Like how many host countries have baseball stadiums? Maybe more than I would. Maybe more than I would think. But sometimes they kind of go off the beaten path with the countries they choose to host. So London was the 2012 Olympics. Does London have baseball stadiums?
I would think the only thing I could think games there last year. The only thing I could think of that London might have in this. I mean, you obviously couldn't hold the Olympics like this, but I don't know, around here or around wherever, big baseball parks where they play Little League. That's the only thing I can think of because there's no way there's a major league stadium in the middle of London.
Well, the Red Sox and Yankees play there 2 years ago, and all the players were like, "Yeah, we can't play in that ballpark ever again. The wind was different." Remember that was a game where the score was 17-10 or something like that. Every ball was going out of the park, no doubt. So. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that they've decided to re-add it. I know a lot of baseball fans are excited about it, but it does seem like one of the least. And I was curious when it first was announced. I Googled it. The Netherlands apparently has a pretty good baseball team. Yeah. But I just have to imagine the talent drop-off is very exponential in baseball compared to a lot of other international sports.
Yeah.
The Dominican, or it's the Central and South American countries, America, Canada, Mexico, I guess there's some European countries in Japan and China, but are we really going to be having Western African representation in the Olympics for baseball at any time soon?
Yeah, and on top of that, like they have the World Baseball Classic, or they did have it. Are they having it every 4 years? I don't know what's going on
It's
with it.
two. I think it's every two, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
So
Not a
I
baseball
mean,
guy.
if they have that, I just don't know why it's in the Olympics.
Yeah,
But
but go
whatever.
USA.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, this
Saw
brings me to
this.
another Olympic sport. I don't blame anyone for this really. There's no way to kind of deal with this unless you take college players, I guess. But for the first time, there will be a basketball tournament in the Olympics, and the USA will not be a part of it. There is a change. It is not 5-on-5. It is 3-on-3. So the NBA, not the NBA, the 3-on-3 men's team, like I said in the outline, right? The only guy I recognize is Robbie Hummel, and I think he's torn his ACL, MTL, and everything single ligature in his knee like 7 times. He used to play for Purdue, had a very short NBA career. He was the only player I recognized. They didn't qualify. Basically, to qualify, you would have finished third in this tournament. They finished like fifth. So I can't say I'm mad or angry or frustrated. I don't care. I probably wasn't going to watch 3x3 basketball anyways, but it's just, I mean, like get
My
college
very
kids.
my
Get college
very
kids.
loose my very loose understanding of 3-on-3 basketball at like the professional quote unquote level is that it's kind of almost, this might be a terrible comparison, but similar to like futsal and professional soccer. Like it is basketball, but it's a totally different game, you know? Like
Yeah,
you're
you're
not
not
running down
going.
the court, you don't have transition basketball and all that stuff. So it's like it's basketball, but like it's different enough that it's not necessarily, you don't have the like in if you just take the NBA players and put them on a 5-on-5 court, they're going to win the gold most years, right? Whereas in 3-on-3 basketball, you have these teams who, for whatever reason in their country, like that's the form of basketball that's popular, and they're just way more adept to playing it that way. And then we have the United States just try to throw in college rejects. No offense to anyone on the United States team, and it just doesn't work out as well because they're not as used to that play style. They're just trying to put their basketball skills into the mold that's set forth by the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. This will be the first Olympics without. I mean, I know the women's swimmer, Ladas. I don't know. I can't remember.
Maybe
Ledbecker.
Ledecky.
Yeah, Ledecky. I believe she'll be in it. But I can't remember a time I've been more uninterested in the Olympics. There's no
I
Michael
love the
Phelps.
Olympics, man. I don't even care if I know anyone in it. I love the Summer Olympics.
I'm not a big fan. I'd rather. I like Winter Olympics. I'd rather watch hockey.
I guess the Summer
Um,
Olympics I like because one, I ran track in high school, so I love watching all the track and field
yeah.
events. But also, like, especially, so this one's in Tokyo, so it's like way ahead of us. So you'll have events going on in the morning. They have like the internet or the website where you can watch it live for free if you put in your TV provider. And it's basically like if there's just, I mean, it's also during a time of the year where there's no sports that we really care about happening, except this year you have the European soccer tournament. But like, you can watch something. There's always something on. I remember in between my junior and senior year at college, I was working at the rec center, so there's obviously a very limited group of my friends that were still there, and a very
Mm-hmm.
limited amount of people actually coming into the rec center, causing me to not really have much to do at my job. I mean, I watched so many table tennis games that year, so many sand volleyball games. So it's just kind of cool to always have like something you can throw on your television, and then obviously sometimes you get like the equestrian events that I don't care to watch, but for the most part, it's always kind of cool just to be able to throw something on and see some high level competition happening with some
Yeah, I
sports you
feel that.
never see otherwise.
Yeah, I feel that. So we kind of already talked about the NBA, but we'll go over a couple of headlines here. Like I said, Suns Lakers are tied 2-2. Is this must win for LeBron and the Lakers? Anthony Davis has a groin injury. I believe he's day to day or questionable, so they don't know if he'll play. I think if they go down 3-2, and then I believe they have to go. No, then they'll go. Then they'll go to LA, and then they'll have to go back
they're
to
the lower
Phoenix.
seed. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say it's a must win because it's LeBron James, and it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. I mean, he has the ability to just flip a switch. But like I said, I would love to see the Suns win. I mean, they built through the draft. I mean, Devin Booker's awesome. DeAndre Ayton's awesome. Chris Paul, unfortunately, just can't stop getting injured in the playoffs.
No.
But yeah, like I said earlier, I'm all in on a Suns Hawks finals. That'd be great.
Yeah. So I mean, this is strictly based on the past. Obviously, LeBron's getting older. You have the Anthony Davis injury problem. If I'm the Suns or I'm a Suns fan, I would almost say it's 2 back-to-back must-win games because you go to Game 7 against LeBron. Good luck.
Yeah,
You put
exactly.
LeBron in a Game 7 scenario, and I don't know. Again, like the Suns are very good. Don't get me wrong, and the Lakers have their issue. But if as if I were to be making bets on it, I don't think you could ever find me putting even a penny against LeBron in any Game 7.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we saw it in 2016. I mean,
right?
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. But like I said, I hope the Suns win.
Yeah.
I think they're capable of winning. And I think more than anything, I think this is showing, or at least I hope a lot of maybe NBA coaches and teams are kind of taking this in. But it's showing there is a problem with guys not playing together in the regular season a lot. Like I think Anthony Davis and LeBron James played together for like 15 to 20 games this year. So it does make a difference. Not a huge difference on a team like that because they've been formed for about 2 years now, but it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Like I said, Anthony Davis has an injury. Whatever Big Cat said on Pardon My Take, it's completely true about Anthony Davis. I can't remember what he said. He's 6'10", and like he just forgets that he's big.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird. He hangs out by the 3-point line. Like halftime, it looks like he's afraid of contact. It's just very, very weird. I don't think there really has ever been a player who's had his stock go down by playing with LeBron. But Anthony Davis might be the first one because, I mean, he was like the savior for the NBA for a while. And like he was going to help turn things around. And like he was a new star to look forward to. Like he's young, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like I watch him play and I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, It's very odd. He shies away from contact, so whatever. But
we'll see.
That was very odd.
He wears a short sleeve undershirt,
which I don't hate as much as I thought I would.
Oh wow, I got a lot of crap for that back in my day.
But did you wear a loose one or a tight one like that?
It was pretty loose. I wore it one game, and then I had like my best game of my very limited playing time career. So I wore it the rest of the season.
You're forgetting that I wore short sleeve shirt too.
True. And the family, I wore it one game randomly, and I had like a decent enough game relative to my limited playing time. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wear this the rest of the year. It didn't really make much of a difference, but
yeah, I've looked back at the pictures of me my junior year when I wore the T-shirt. That was when we got the new jerseys.
For
the
same one, if you recall.
But I remember getting mine, and they didn't have any small pants. If everyone out there doesn't know, I'm very short. They didn't have any small pants, so they had to give me mediums, and I had to roll them up. But I rolled them up once, and my look that year, like I look back on it, it was disgusting. Are you
talking about the warm-up pants?
No, I'm talking about talking about the shorts. They're super long because that was still when people liked the shorts long. So they were long on me, even though I had to roll them up. And then I had the baggy undershirt and the stupid headband. I looked great my senior year. My junior year was not. I did not look good. But that's what happens. I just like I said earlier, I'm all in on the Hawks. I love Trae Young. I still feel bad for the Hawks because they probably made the biggest mistakes since whenever Michael Jordan got drafted. Instead, they just missed. They traded to get Trae Young, and so Luka fell to the Mavs, and Luka is probably, not athletic wise, but he's the best basketball player I've seen come in the league in a while.
Yeah.
Trae Young is still the man. I know I play 2K. Trae Young is my man now. I hated him because he was short and he would get blocked a lot, but now he's just great. When he made the choke to the Garden, that's awesome. I'm all in for that. I said it earlier. Give me the Hawks or give me the Suns or the Grizzlies even too, or the Nuggets. I just don't want it to be Boston. Give me the Bucks out of the East. I'll take that. That's different. Maybe Giannis can stop LeBron James, but all these teams that built the right way, I like it. It's made NBA more watchable for me. And then I'll just go on my quick Tyree tirade. He just needs to I'm never going to be the guy that one of the Fox News hosts, LeBron said something, she or he said, shut up and dribble. I'm never going to say that because it's very mentally healthy for you to have other things in your life that you enjoy. But Kyrie Irving he's just on a different planet. Like, I don't like, I've seen him give press conferences in the last couple of years. I don't want to say I think there's something wrong with him, but like I just don't get it. I mean, what are your thoughts? Because I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I don't necessarily hate him. Like, I just think he might be the weirdest dude that's ever lived. Like,
yeah, he just seems, I mean, don't get me wrong, like there's certain issues that he's spoken on that I think he's very like centered and focused, like obviously like issues with race and, equality in America. Like he seems to kind of be focused in on that. Now how he mixes it in with his basketball career is a whole different conversation. But like he also does seem to kind of just like have these random moments where he's all over the place. A few years back, he's talking about the earth being flat. Earlier this year, he was going around burning whatever kind of incense it was in the arena, which like, don't get me wrong, like each in and of itself, all of that, like what you got to do. But he does seem to just kind of be like all over the place at times. And don't get me wrong, I love when players take the stand on certain political or certain social issues because it makes people listen. And I love watching people who don't care to hear their point of view get mad because apparently they're not allowed to talk because of the fact that they make money. But Kyrie does seem to, one, let it interfere with his career more than others, and two, can be a tad bit hypocritical at times in that he'll take time away from the NBA to speak on issues that matter, but then also be shown doing social activities that have nothing to do with the issues he's focusing on. So be missing time because he needed, like this past year, if he went away from the team, he had to like quarantine and stuff. There were certain health regulations, but they would show him outside of the time that he was spending talking about important issues, just kind of socializing with people and being all honky-dory with his friends. And it's like, well, did you really need to take time away because of the issues you wanted to speak on, or are you just really weird about whether or not you want to play basketball on any given day?
Yeah. And,
you know what? He doesn't seem like he likes playing basketball a lot of the time. He's probably the NBA player who seems to have the least amount of interest in playing basketball. Him or the rookie for the Timberwolves who said he doesn't really like basketball that much.
I don't know who that is. I mean, yeah, and I don't necessarily fully agree with you, but it comes to a point where it's like, dude, either play basketball or go be a politician. Right. That's either one's fine if he wants to do that. But like, there comes a time when we just don't want to hear. Like, we want to just ask you about your shot you made versus the Warriors, or like, we don't want to talk about. We don't want to talk about like global warming. Like, we just want to talk to you about basketball, man. So
yeah.
I think I know he was the one who kind of started the mental health thing in pro sports, or not started, but was one of the bigger names about it. I mean, I hope he doesn't have something wrong, but like just the way he acts and the things he does. And we talked about it before we went live, but I mean, Garnett ripped him. He made a gesture at TD Garden. You got a ball thrown at him, obviously. Like, and fans need to chill out. They do. I mean, another ran on the court last night in the Wizards 76ers game. Fans do need to chill out, but there's also a point, like obviously throwing bottles and spitting and popcorn, but there's also a point where, like, yeah, I want my fans to rattle my opponent. Like, I want them to say things to get into his head. And so, and
well, I mean,
now all these players are just coming out and being like, oh, you should ban these. Yeah, they should get banned, but that's it. Like, it's different when you get a bottle thrown. Like, the guy who did the popcorn, like, who cares? It's popcorn.
Yeah.
I agree with the spit in the bottle, but like, it's popcorn. But it's very weird.
The site part of my take again, they were talking about it today. I think there's almost been like an overreaction to the stuff that's been happening in the past couple of games, like the spitting, the water bottle throwing, the popcorn throwing, and stuff.
That's exactly
like you said. Yeah, like that.
I think with all the attention that the fans are getting now, it's not good. These things are going to keep happening because the fans are getting attention.
Well, what I was going to say also is that like the reaction to all of like the completely out of line fan behavior is almost crossing into this, like, it's the way that people are reacting negatively to like the bottle throwing and the spitting and whatnot, which makes sense, is almost crossing over into the like Kyrie Irving. Like, yes, if I'm a Boston fan, I want that entire TD Garden booing him every time he touches the ball. There's nothing inappropriate about that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, obviously, there's certain words that come out of people's mouths that would cross the line. But like booing a player who treated your franchise poorly and goes and steps on your logo, yes, love that. Nothing wrong with it. When LeBron James came back to Cleveland when he was in Miami and destroyed us by like 40 points, but the first like 5 minutes of that game, where the entire, I think at the time it was still Rocket, I think it was still the Q, was every time he touched the ball, it was just chorus of boos. Like that's great. That's what makes sports awesome. So we need to not be acting like players need to be coddled when they go into arenas, but we also need to be aware of the fact that, I mean, does it really need to be said? Like, don't throw a bottle at an NBA player. I saw this tweet that was kind of funny from one of the accounts I follow after someone threw a bottle at Kyrie Irving, and it's very true. I think the average American needs to like completely reassess how likely it is that they would stand a chance against a professional athlete in a fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, well, it's funny because like, they're all, it's like, you know, it's like they're all tough when they're in a crowd and behind the, you know, the bleachers and all of that. But it's like, I mean, Kyrie Irving's small. I don't necessarily know if I want to pick any kind of fight with any kind of world-class athlete.
I mean, he would beat me up, but it doesn't matter because I'd still get at least one chance to punch him. Like,
right. I guess my point is that it's.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. Fans who sit there and they're like, well, I mean, I could go out there and run the football for 15 yards to carry. What is he doing? Like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But to the other point, like, I don't care if like my eye socket popped out in a fight with Kyrie Irving. If I got him to bleed and hit him in the eye, I would be happy. So
that's you.
Whatever. Well, because he just doesn't shut up. Everything is about him. What he's doing. Everything is about him. What he's doing. Why he's doing it. 24/7, and he just needs to get out of my life. Quickly on the NFL, the Seahawks and the Falcons are in conversations about a trade for Julio Jones. They got to trade Julio Jones. They're not going to get a good offer for him. No, they're not getting a first round pick. They had apparently a week ago they had a first round pick. That offer was withdrawn once they saw that no one else was willing to do that. So, yeah, I mean they just whatever.
I don't think add to that. I agree.
Yeah, and this is two things really, nothing really comment on. According to the report, Mac Jones's swag and energy is making his teammates like him more, and he's winning over the veterans. There's never been a quarterback with less swag than Mac Jones. So
I think there was one drafted in the same draft class as him.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, at least Mac Jones has the experience of playing in the SEC and playing at Alabama. Zach Wilson played for a Mormon university.
Yeah, we didn't get either one, so that's good.
Yes, I think we had two of the most swagless quarterbacks of all time drafted in this draft. But I would agree. The notion that his chubby boy swagger is motivating veteran Patriots is almost concerning about the state of the Patriots locker room.
And I'm going to use some self-control right here, and I'm not going to go on a tirade about the Patriots and the city of Boston. So,
good.
All right. We're running a little long, so we're just, instead of doing player empowerment, and let's just talk about the Cavs for 10, 15 minutes. So, like I said, I was writing an article yesterday. Basically, it was like, you know what? Like the Collin Sexton and Darius Garland in the same backcourt experience, it failed. It's not working. And in my opinion, they need to trade Collin Sexton. I don't know what you get for Collin Sexton. I have a couple trade packages that I've seen that maybe. But the fact that the NBA is becoming such a longer and more athletic and leaner league, like having 2 6'1" point guards in the same backcourt just doesn't make any sense. And at least Darius Garland he's a facilitator a little bit at least. Collin Sexton is not, he can't catch and shoot. He's not that good shoot. Everything he has to have the ball in his hands. Could he be valuable to a different team? Yeah, probably. But he's up for an extension this summer. I don't want them to re-sign him. Like, trade him. Like, get a second. At least get a first-round pick for him. But
yeah,
he just, I understand that you tried it for a year and he looked okay in his rookie season or whatever. But then why do you draft Darius Garland next year? Like,
Yeah.
there have been so many things and I'll say this: if they trade Collin Sexton, I'm not huge on Isaac Okoro, but at least if you trade Sexton, then you can put in Okoro to see at least what you have with him.
Yeah.
And if it's nothing, it's nothing. But yeah, it's super weird. And I sent you the link to the Cavaliers timeline from basically oh crap. Dang it. I don't know if I can read this. Dang it.
I got it. I have it pulled up.
Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. That's good.
I'll tell you what the first event is.
Yeah, I think this is my second time on the site. They're gonna make me subscribe, so I'm not gonna subscribe to the Cleveland scene. Sorry, guys.
I must be lucky to have it pulled up then.
Well, because I pulled it up yesterday. It's probably your first time. It's like your first time looking at an article. Yeah. So I did it yesterday and looked at it for about 6 hours. If you go and Brian will obviously this because he's got it up. But I mean, if you go from their timeline from what's the first event on there?
They parted ways with David Griffin.
Like after they won, whatever. Basically,
this actually starts with after they lost the 2017
the finals.
So the third series against the Warriors. So they part ways.
Yeah.
I'll run through the first few pretty quickly here because obviously there's a whole bunch, but I'll get you kind of an idea of where it starts because it all kind of piles on pretty quickly in that summer. So they part ways with David Griffin. Chauncey Billups declines their offer to become the next GM. Kyrie Irving's trade request becomes public, and the Cavs don't have a general manager in place. I forgot this happened, but they signed Derrick Rose.
2
years too early, apparently.
So I'll just go basically. So I did yesterday. I was going to write an article about how they needed to trade Collin Sexton, but then I found this on the website that shows, which is Ryan's on. It's got the timeline from after they lost to the semifinals to basically not present day necessarily, but kind of where they are now. And there were some great key points that I mean, just incredible stuff. First one, Kyrie Irving literally held his own knee hostage as a hostage in his trade demands. He demanded a trade after they lost the 2017 finals, which, I mean, apparently he wanted to trade after they won the 2016 finals. So whatever. But I don't know where I was going with that one. But yeah, he basically said he wanted to trade. He said he'd go to 3 teams or 4 teams, whatever. And then like a year later after they did trade him with the Celtics, which is, I mean, mind-boggling. Why, like, he's one of the best point guards in the league. Why would you trade him in the East? You were an idiot. And we'll get to what the package they got because, oh, my God, that was unbelievable. But basically, he had told the Cavs that he was going to have surgery on his knee if they didn't trade him.
Yep.
So, like, he wasn't going to play for the Cavs, and he held his knee hostage. So that's incredible. There are some other ones on there. Including one, I think they brought in Derrick Rose as insurance for Isaiah Thomas, which
no better injury insurance than Derrick Rose.
Not even that. So we'll go over the package they got for Kyrie Irving.
I got it here. You need it.
I remember it. It was incredible. So the Cavs traded Irving to the Celtics for they got Ante Zizic, believe Brooklyn's first-round pick that it turned into Collin Sexton, which was supposed to be the prize of the actual trade because had Brooklyn finished one of the bottom 3 spots in the league, the Cavs would have had that pick, but they didn't, so they got the 8th pick. But yeah, so they traded him for Ante Zizic, Jay Crowder, and Isaiah Thomas, who Isaiah Thomas had a great playoff year the year before when they traded him, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So basically he had a hip injury when he got traded to the Cavs. He had been trying to keep it under wraps, not trying to keep it under wraps, but he wasn't making as big a deal out of it as he should have.
Yeah.
And basically the trade goes through and he comes to Cleveland to get a physical, and the doctors are like, this hip injury is like incredibly different than what we thought it was. This could be career threatening.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on and told Woj, in an interview with Woj, said it's not career threatening, which,
right.
I mean, bold-faced lie. And so then at that time when they were trading him, I guess the deal wasn't completely done. So the Cavs were mulling to either take Kyrie back or ask for more from the Celtics. And the dumbasses that front office is, they got an extra second round pick because Isaiah Thomas basically could play one more year in the NBA.
Right.
It was incredible. I mean, it just blows your mind how many of these things they did like over the couple of years and just no right decisions.
No.
I don't know how to explain it much more than that. They made zero right decisions since they won the title.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't know what you're taking it. I think you got to get rid of Collin Sexton. I just don't see him. He doesn't fit in with this team. I mean, even if they do, so basically it's a 5 to 6 player draft. They're probably gonna end up with a 6th pick, which sucks. If Jalen Suggs falls to you, I mean, once again, the fact that they got Darius Garland, who is good. I like Darius Garland. He could grow into a great player. But the fact that they drafted a point guard that was never really going to be a star, most likely, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I mean, because I'm sure the next time they have a high pick, there's going to be a guard probably. So it just makes no sense. And Collin Sexton, I looked up a couple of the stats. His efficiency rating is terrible. His ball usage is terrible. I know I said it earlier on one of a different podcast, but teams would literally taunt Cavs players on the floor by telling them, he's not going to pass you the ball.
Yeah.
And so you go ahead with your thoughts on it, and then I'll go over some of the trade packages I saw. But I just don't. I mean, you can't move forward without trading Sexton. And I think if you're going to build something, you build it around Garland and Jared Allen, who I know they said they've done nothing right since they won the title. Getting Jared Allen was the first thing they've done right in a while because he's a young center, defensive-minded. His offensive game is still kind of limited. And it might grow and might not grow, whatever. But, I mean, he's a defensive force. He rebounds the ball. He's a younger Andre Drummond who could be very valuable in the future. But, yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
I pretty much echo everything you're saying. Like, I like Collin Sexton enough. Like, I don't hate him as like an individual basketball
player. Yeah, he seems
player.
like a nice enough guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's going to work here. And I think, I mean, if you listen to Kobe Altman's press conference, it just seems like he's basically going to try to create a scenario where he can point. He's doing what the Bears do. They just bring in some new, somewhat shiny talent every year to buy themselves more time and act like, well, this looked kind of good this year, so next year will be better. And it just seems they're going to kind of like keep cycling this like level of maybe like low mediocrity to kind of keep themselves justifying their existence. Because like if there are stats that you can pull, and the Cavs social media is very good at it, that make Collin Sexton and Darius Garland look like a great backcourt. Mm-hmm. Like you can pull together some stats, like, whether it's points per game over a certain span of games, you can put some highlight packages together that make them look great, but it's just clearly not. I mean, obviously to be a top NBA team in this world right now, you have to have a whole nother level of star power on your team, but there is no path from this current roster towards even an 8 seed that I see.
No, I 100% agree, and
I'd be happy with an 8 seed.
And they won the title in 2016, so I was willing to give them and we all kind of knew LeBron was headed out the way, even though I don't think a lot of people were happy about it. I don't think people were mad at LeBron. I think people were mad at the Cavs organization for how they kind of handled that, even though they didn't really handle it wrong, but whatever. So I was willing to give them a couple of years, and even right now, if they had shown some progress, right, I would have been okay, you know what? Let's keep moving. We won a title. And then, I mean, basically it's the first time this has ever happened in sports history where a guy comes back to his hometown, wins the title for the first time in 50 years for his hometown, and then moves somewhere else. I mean, LeBron leaving was a giant rip out of Cleveland. And like I said, I've never blamed him for it. He won me a title, so whatever. But like I said, I was going to give the organization a while and stuff like to rebuild because, like I said, that kind of thing has never happened in professional sports, really. So, I mean, it was a different kind of rebuild. But yeah, there's just no way. Like I said, I was fine to give them like if they had made some, but they've made no progress. They're like the same record every year in year out, which is like the 5th or 6th worst, meaning they get the 5th or 6th pick. And this is almost where this is almost where and this was like when the Browns were doing this, like I was like, okay, we're losing, fine, we'll get more draft picks. And now, like I wish they still had the draft lottery like it was, because I would love to be the Cavs' only path to like even the playoffs in the next 10 years is just through the draft. No free agent is ever going to come to Cleveland. No. There aren't many no trade clauses, but also like I'll go over the packages I saw in a sec, but it's not even that. Like it's like nothing. I don't know. Here's the trade packages that I kind of saw. All right, so this one makes sense, even though I don't like what they get in return. The Knicks, Collin Sexton would go to the Knicks, and then the Cavs would get Obi Toppin, a future first-round pick. Obviously, every deal for Collin Sexton needs to include a first-round pick, sooner rather than later, probably in the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. But I don't. I mean, Obi Toppin, I gotta tell you, I don't really want him. I don't have any need for him on the Cavs. I mean, he had a good playoff game when they got swept, but I don't need Obi Toppin. And my biggest fear about them trading Collin Sexton is they're incompetent to do it. So it's going to be like the Kyrie trade where they think they won and they didn't.
Yeah.
So like I said, that's the first one I saw. I'm out on that one. I don't need Obi Toppin. Whatever.
For what it's worth, the Knicks haven't gotten swept yet. They won a game.
Oh, they did. Okay, good for them.
Yep.
So this is one from the Magic, which I actually don't hate, even though I probably should. So the Magic would get Collin Sexton, and then the Cavs would get a future first rounder and Wendell Carter Jr. Wendell Carter Jr. went to Duke, so I don't like him. But the Cavs haven't had if you could find a front court with Jared Allen and
Anderson Varejao.
No, Wendell Carter. If you can have a front court with Wendell Carter Jr. and Jared Allen, that's something you can build off of with the point guard in Darius Garland and like a defensive stopper, 3-and-D guy, hopefully Isaac Okoro. So that works for me. I don't really love it because he went to Duke, but that works for me.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best one. Obviously, the next one is going to be very biased for me, but that's fine.
I was going to say.
Also, I don't hate it.
It's not terrible, but
yeah, it's not terrible.
I was like, shocking that you have this one on paper.
So the Bulls would get Sexton and Chetty Osman. Fine. Like Chetty Osman, like for like 2 months, Cavs fans were excited about Chetty Osman. I never want to see him play in a Cavs uniform ever again. And the Cavs would get Kobe White and Lauri Markkanen.
And just real quick, where did Kobe White go to college?
North Carolina.
Right. Go on.
He hasn't had a good start to his career, and I understand that. I get it. And honestly, I wouldn't play him over Darius Garland. I would play him as the backup. I would have him run the 2 league. And actually, in the backcourt, first of all, Kobe White is 6'5". He's a point guard, but he's 6'5". So that would work out. That would work out much better for them, I think, than Sexton. And then Lauri Markkanen, I don't think he's great, but I also don't think he's bad. Like, he's a useful player in the right system. And, when the Cavs were good, granted it was LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love, but they had a stretch 4, and Lauri Markkanen is a stretch 4, or even a big 3 on the wing. So I like that package. I would obviously want to include a first rounder because I think Collin Sexton is much more valuable than either one of those two in terms of what the league thinks of people. But yeah, I don't hate that one.
No, I don't mind it. All jokes aside, I don't mind it.
Yeah. So I mean, we're gonna wrap up here soon. I mean, I figured we talk about the Cavs today just because you know what, like it's done. Cleveland sports have done a 360. It's done a complete 360, or I guess 180. Yeah. 180. We turn around. I mean, the Cavs are the new Browns, and the Browns are the new Cavs.
And the Indians are still the Indians.
Yeah, and I mean, and like I said, if the Dolans didn't, the Dolan family, I want you to hear me right now. If you sell the team, I will buy season tickets every year.
That doesn't really benefit them though, Justin, because they would have sold the team.
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. At least I'm not Big Cat eating hot dogs, hoping for the Dolans to sell. So
True. Well, we'll see. They seem to have a pretty firm grasp on their ownerships, though. So
yeah. So like I said, yeah. I guess the main point of this, they got to get rid of Collin Sexton. In the comment you made makes 100% right. There's really no path going forward right now that ends in a good place. Just because, and it's how they build the team.
You can't expect to become one of the best teams in the NBA without some immediate injection of high level star power. That's fine. I'll take a 7 seed, and I don't even see the path to that anytime soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, no. Ooh, I mean, I think they're farther away from the playoffs than they were when LeBron. They were bad before LeBron. I think they're farther away from the playoffs than they were then. And that sucks, but I mean, it's professional sports. It happens. But like I said, I just think they need to get rid of him, get what you can for him, and just, I mean, because that way, it also, even in the draft, I would trade him before the draft, obviously.
Yeah.
But even in the draft, then, if Jalen Suggs falls to you, that's all of a sudden not terrible.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I would think their greatest scenario would be Cade Cunningham. But I also think when was the last time the Cavs had a really dominant big man? Not necessarily back to the basket, but a center, probably Z. And if they ended up with Evan Mobley, I'd be fine with that too. And the two players in the G League that came out of high school, Jonathan Kuminga and I can't think of the other guy's name. But so basically, you have those two guys, Jalen Suggs, Mobley, and Cunningham are your 5 guys, 5-6 guys. And so if you fall out of that, which is seemed to happen every year for the Cavs, past couple of years, I mean, when they drafted Collin Sexton, it was kind of like a 6-pick draft. When they drafted Darius Garland, it was literally a 4-player draft, and he was the 5th pick. So you can't hate that, and he's turned out better than I thought he would. So
that's pretty good.
We're gonna close it out for today. I don't know. Update for everyone. I don't know what we're going to be doing this week with regards. Like I said, I think Tom might come on with one of his buddies and maybe record if he wants to. But we will keep you updated. Like I said, I picked up a different landscaping job. Tom's got school and work as well. So we're just trying to get through this month, and then by the end of the July football, or by the middle of July, all we'll be thinking about is football. So it'll be great. So Ryan, thanks for joining me again today.
Anytime.
I hope you had a little bit of fun.
I did. It was good.
But yeah, so I think if you're a listener and you got anything out of this podcast, it should be that the Cavs need to trade Collin Sexton. So,
and the Dolans need to spend money.
And no, or the Dolans just need to sell.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll take them to spending money, but they're not going to do that. So anyway,
all right, so that's going to do it for us. Like I said, we'll keep you updated. I don't know where the next show will be, but we'll keep you updated. And since Tom's not here, I'll fill in. Let's go Dogs.
Go Dukes.